Hey, what's up, good people? It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Angel, I love you, bro. I love you. I love your family, and I really appreciate the introduction. Good evening, mi querida gente. I am honored to be able to provide the keynote speech this evening. I thank and salute Sustainable Resilient Longmont for your mighty leadership. You serve as an example to all of us on community leadership and community organizing. I want to congratulate the awardees for being recognized by your community. More often than not, it is our community leaders who pave the way through the difficult times we face. And it is only just and right that you are honored for the great efforts you have done to fight for community and our environment. Before I get started, I also want to tip my hat to my colleagues, Senator Mike Foote and Representative Jonathan Singer. It was one of my greatest honors to work alongside you on the House floor and in the legislature. Your service to your constituents was admirable and fierce. More often than not, we stood shoulder to shoulder on so many social justice issues, and we always stood together against the horrors of the oil and gas industry. You have done well, my friends, and I'm standing on the other side of the post-legislator light, waiting to welcome you. To those who will be elected in November, please take care of your communities. You are there for them, they are afraid, and they have placed enormous trust in you to lead them through these difficult times. Also, do not be afraid to be led by the people. The only reason your seats exist at all is because of them. Now, imagine that we are in the second decade of the 21st century, and the greatest crisis ever faced by all living species is the climate change crisis we've created. Over the millennia of expansion, technological advancement, consumerism, capitalism, racism, sexism, migration, love, peace, wars, and tranquility have all brought us to this one moment. This moment was born from our dependency on a 20th century energy source that is running us perilously close to an extinction level event. And yet, many in our country remain resistant to change. Many are resistant to the overwhelming scientific consensus that we are in trouble, a trouble that we have created all on our own. It's a horrible thing to see and hear elected leaders act as though that what is unfolding right before our very eyes is a debatable point, or that there is some fictitious intellectual, honest disagreement between people about whether climate change exists. With COVID spreading, and the most massive wildfire in Colorado's history raging right now outside of our front doors, there is no intellectual honesty in saying that climate change is a debatable issue. What's just as infuriating is knowing that we have the technology now to save us from our own calamity, but the ever-present resistance to change keeps us from fully deploying our human innovation to save our human backsides. What does it take for the human collective to recognize that no job is worth more than the lives of others and our future generations? No amount of profit is more important than clean air and clean water, clean soil, the continued existence of our flying, crawling, walking, and swimming relations. Nothing is more important than the balance and harmony crafted by nature. Why does our own self-created peril have to present itself before we contemplate evolving into our better selves? As an Indigenous man, I walk with my ancestors behind me, my living generations beside me, and 7 generations in front of me. I cannot afford the luxury of ignoring the monsters we have created. I hope you feel that same way too. Surely, I did not come here just to be philosophical. I did not come here to contemplate our own doom. I came here because I am telling you, just as I live and breathe and bear witness to you, that it is the heart of the community member who will save us. It is the individual living next door to you who is willing to stand alongside and demand our positive change. We are seeing it with communities rising up against this abusive oil and gas industry. Longmont, Fort Collins, and yes, even Greeley took those first steps in our state to say, that they will protect themselves and their neighbors from the pollution and the ill health effects associated with this industry. In fact, Longmont passed a charter amendment to say that it would not happen here. And then a caustic Supreme Court shot you down. But guess what? That wasn't enough for you. And you recognized the fight ahead. And you turned to another branch of government to check that caustic judicial branch, and what was born was Senate Bill 19181. Senate Bill 19181 was born from the people and carried by your representatives, one of the co-primes being Senator Mike Foote. It was born from Proposition 112. It was born from the abuses experienced by homeowners at the hands of a wayward Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, the ultimate rubber stamp for a dirty industry. You provided the steel in the spine of your elected officials by providing testimony and writing letters, making phone calls, protesting, rallying, marching, and you did the most human thing possible, which was use your voice to demand that our government hear you. Because you knew that this was not going to be an easy battle, and you won. Senate Bill 19181 is law. But the work is never done, is it? The work is always present. Your work will be recognized and discussed by the next generations. And yes, Allie, as young as you are, our next generations are going to be talking about you and how fierce you were in your leadership. Standing alongside community organizations such as Colorado Rising, the Sunrise Movement, 350 Colorado, Logic, Conservation Colorado, Earth Guardians, Wild Earth Guardians, Center for Biological Diversity, and so many others, you showed up to weeks of rulemaking, demanding that the belligerent COGCC bend to the will of the people, and you have won so many mighty victories for all of us. That is what it means to be a grassroots advocate. The battle still rages, but now we have the force of law on our side. Your representatives did something in Senate Bill 19181 that is not often seen in government. The passage of Senate Bill 19181 gave us the tools, attorneys like myself, to challenge the decision of our own Colorado Supreme Court. That Longmont decision is now looking weak. The checks and balances of our government is very much alive because the legislature said that the local governments can now regulate oil and gas development in a manner that is more protective and stricter than state requirements. The legislature telegraphed to the Colorado Supreme Court that the state no longer holds primacy over oil and gas development, and that the Supreme Court's decision in our Longmont is rightfully under attack by community advocates here from our Longmont, because the vote of the people has got to mean something. In this war of our literal survival, we know that there will sometimes be losses, and the community advocates know to take the hits, to fall on the mat, to get up again, and to let those hands fly until we strike that decisive blow on the oil and gas monster. And the community advocate knows, feels it in their bones, that our next battle is to get the infrastructure in place for 21st century technology. You know, that technology that collects the abundant and free, clean, green energy that nature has always provided us. That technology harnessing the sun, the wind, among other things. The technology that begs Mother Earth's forgiveness for being so violent and violative. The technology that helps us evolve into our better selves, where we can finally honor balance. That's what grassroots advocacy will achieve for us. Every bit of tonight is to harness the awesome power of your human spirit to work as a collective for one another. Because we must recognize that each child born, each future generation raised, they are ours collectively. And we owe it to them to be the greatest human beings that we can possibly be. Make sure you vote. You know I love you very much, and thank you.